Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. Listen, 67 years ago, women first joined the TTPS, and we have with us this morning on International Women's Day, of course, Inspector Michelle Lewis. And we're going to be talking about exactly what it's like to be a woman on the force and so much more. Good morning, Inspector.
Good morning to you. Happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day. We're so thankful to have you on the show with us this morning because we have a lot to talk about when it comes to policing as well. And of course, talking about breaking the bias. Here we are, and you are an inspector woman in the force. Now, tell us something, just to jump into perhaps a few statistics. How many women are in the TTPS?
We have quite a number. We have, in the executive in particular, we have approximately 50%. We have 7 male and 4 female ACPs. We have 1 DCP male and 2 DCP female, and of course our commissioner is male. So that's almost a 50% in the executive of the police service, which is quite a lot, and it's really commendable that we have such high number of women in a male-dominated organization. And when you look through all the ranks, we have 2 senior superintendents, 3 assistant superintendents, 5 assistant superintendents, 5 superintendents, 32 inspectors, 69 sergeants, and the list goes on. So we have quite a number of women in the police service, and that is just special reserve, regular police. We also have special reserve. So we do have perhaps about 30–40% of the police service is women police.
Wow.
Actually, there was 1 year when we actually had an entire batch of women police officers trained. 1 full batch of 100 women police trained.
Woman power. Woman power, an entire batch. Wow. So the next question I was going to ask you is, how challenging is it for a woman to get into the force? But I mean, you just said there's an entire batch of women, but how challenging would you say it is?
It is not challenging at all. As a woman, once you meet the criteria which are set out for anybody who is interested in joining in the police service, the criteria that is there, male or female, it is the same. And so we go through the same training, the same prerequisites. And once you qualify, you become, a recruit.
Yeah.
And of course, you go through your probationary period, and then, you go from there. In most cases, however, because of the level of crime, perhaps the number of male that we would need, because of the types of communities and the strata that we have to go through from time to time, we may require some more male than female.
Yes.
So at times we take more male officers than female. But it has nothing to do with any bias. It's simply because of what we require at the point in time. Completely
understood, because when I was looking at the TTPS, and one of the things again mentioned was in 1955, that's when women first joined. And one of the reasons why they moved towards that was to really be able to effectively deal with children when it comes to crime, and adults as well, females as well. And there's definitely that touch that a woman has. Men, no offense, but there's definitely a touch, that ladies have, even when it comes to policing. Now, one of the things that you mentioned, and it's true, it's a male-dominated occupation globally. And, many times we equate those traditional male characteristics with being a policeman. And now we're talking about, of course, policemen, policewomen. And, in many forward-thinking countries now, they don't even say policewoman anymore. They say policeman to cover everybody. In Trinidad and Tobago, has there been discrimination, would you say, over the years when it comes to females being police officers, not just within the force, but outside as well, when it comes to the way that the public deals?
I don't think so. As a police officer, well, when the first batch came in 1955, so we would celebrate 66 years.
66, my apologies.
66 years. And so from that time, the organization, even the country, recognized the importance of women in the protective service. And so we have grown from strength to strength. As a female officer engaging members of the public, sometimes the female touch is necessary, particularly with dealing with women and children. We do have a high percentage of domestic matters in Trinidad and Tobago as opposed to 1955. So you would see that increase in women. We do see some increases in the numbers of offenses against children. And so where you have the society changing, the organization changes to adapt. So that you don't see a bias or you don't see where the value of a woman is not as crucial as that of a man, it is, to me, it is basically the same.
Yeah, basically, it is the same. Now, you sort of led into my question, because what I wanted to ask is, you know, research over the years has shown sometimes that being male-dominated, it has influenced policing in some ways. But from what you're saying, I gather that's not really the case here. We've basically been able to sort of blur the lines when it comes to the gender gap. Would you say that's correct?
That is correct. We have women police throughout all the section, branches, unit in the organization. I really pride myself in being a police officer.
Yes,
generally speaking.
Definitely.
Not a woman police, but a police officer, because I don't feel any different. I am not treated any different as a police officer. And so we are out there neck and neck. We do the same work, and we support each other, we look out for each other. And so I don't experience that. Generally speaking, I don't see that either. In some of these sections, for example, in homicide, we have a female officer who is leading, that is Vina Butler.
Wow.
In Professional Standard Bureau, we have a female officer who is leading. In Southern Division, which is the largest division in Trinidad and Tobago, we have a female officer that is leading. So, and that's Ma'am Winchester, Senior Superintendent. And so there is no, based on what the statistics in the organization, you can clearly see there is no bias at all.
There's no bias. And, you know, this is delightful to hear, because imagine, so we have this whole thing, we're breaking the bias, but as we're chatting right now, we're seeing that naturally, and I think that's just a blessing of being a Trini, you know, naturally we just sort of mold into everything and we make our own out of it. Now, since things are so fluid in the TTPS itself, is there a need, or do we have any sort of policies that are aimed at women when it comes to equality within the force and what can and cannot be done?
So that with everything, in a uniform section, of course there are, you know, codes of conduct that we go by as females, and likewise for men. Years ago, in the organization, we would have had what we call the Women Police Branch.
Okay.
And of course, that branch catered for all women police. Over the years, that has changed, and so you have women not attached to the branch, but attached to whatever section, unit, branch, or division that they, you know, work in. Now, what we do have is the Women Affairs Bureau.
Okay.
And the Women Affairs Bureau really is for women, so that if you have a concern, you can go there. If you have any issues, when we have special functions for us kind of thing, we utilize that platform. The Women Affairs Bureau is managed, spearheaded by the most senior woman police in the organization. And at this time, we have the senior woman police as Deputy Commissioner of Police, Ma'am Christopher. And so she would be in charge, she is in charge of the bureau. And so there is where we'll get our uniform, our items of kit, some of it, where we'll have women police walk, where we'll have, she would bring us together for conferences, for meetings, that kind of thing, because we also have the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Women Police.
Okay.
Which, again, is for women. So we do have our niche, we still have our, you know, our little space in the organization where we can, you know, be ourselves and discuss issues that are not specifically to the organization, but that may affect us as women.
Yes.
So we do have that, yeah, we do.
That's beautiful. So before we finish off today's discussion, do you have any words for the young ladies out there who perhaps are interested in joining the force, but are not too sure how to go about it and a little bit nervous?
So when I was younger, I'm not very much older now, but when I was a tad younger.
When you were a tad younger, yes.
Right. So one of the things I looked at, before I joined the service, I looked at, you know, the organization, and I looked at officers around, because I had some officers who lived, you know, in close proximity to where I did. And when I joined the service, I looked at women who I can model. Whether they knew it or not, I used them as mentors. Ma'am Arlene Daly, Ma'am Christopher, Ma'am Archie, Ma'am Shalera Hines. These are women who I looked to and who guided me. There are some principles, you know, as a young person with children, with family, that sometimes you need some guidance in the organization, because in this particular organization, you work shift, your hours are crazy sometimes, and so with all of that and the stresses of life, you know, you need to get a life balance. And so when you have a senior woman who can talk with and kind of guide you, it helps. So the organization from outside, sometimes you look at it and you might say it's difficult, but it really isn't. It's a noble profession, and it is one that offers a variety of options. You can be a photographer, you can be a crime scene expert, you can be a media personality like yourself, you can do crime, you know, you can do anything in the organization. It is one of the few organizations in the world that offers different platforms for you to do just about anything. So it's one of those areas that I will encourage women, as a young person who is looking for, you know, somewhere to get the niche. The TTPS is it. And for me, I have my niche right here.
Wonderful. Inspector Lewis, thank you so much for being with us on the International Women's Day edition of the Now Morning Show, inspiring young women around Trinidad and Tobago, and I think regionally as well, to take that step if you are interested in becoming a police officer.
Thank you very much for having us. On behalf of the senior woman of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, Ma'am Christopher, we say Happy International Women's Day to you, to your staff, and to all of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Trinidad and Tobago, stay tuned. We've got more coming up for you after this very short break.